Today I brought some of the original sources, a bunch of the codices here. You guys are more than welcome to come by and take a look at them, look through them, see how we actually wrote our books and knowledge. And some of these are actually post-conquest. So yeah, if afterwards or during, come up and check them out, ask questions. I'll always really answer. Today I'm here to talk about the Mesoamerican calendar system because the Mexica New Year occurred, or as they call it. First I'm going to go into how the calendar system is a model. All calendars are models. And then I'm going to go into the Chicome, or the solar agricultural calendar. And afterwards I'm going to talk about the Tonantzin, the sacred day count, the 260-day count. Then I'm going to give a little information about the origins of the calendar. And then I'm going to give information about how we calibrate the calendar to actual natural phenomena that's going on. Okay, first of all, it's the year 2012. Everybody's doom and gloom. They think that it's going to end the world, but it's not going to happen. It's a lie. They suck. Hey, the only actual reference there is in our records that have survived of the end of the Mayan long count is a stone in the Tortuguera. It's I think it's in Veracruz, and all it talks about is that in the end of the count that the forces that were there at the creation of the original count that ends are going to once again be there to create the next count. That's it. No doom, no gloom, no world destruction, no nothing. Just whatever occurred this one to start is going to be there to make the next one go. That's it. Okay. Moving on. Well, talking about the calendar, how they are models. And the calendar model we are all most familiar with is the Gregorian calendar system, which today is February 5th, 2012. And the Gregorian calendar system came about from the Julian calendar. And what they actually did was a correction from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar, because what they noticed was that their holiday of Easter was falling close more and more in winter time. It's supposed to be like one of their springtime rites, or that's where they actually stole that holiday from. And the Julian calendar works as a 365 days plus one leap day every 4 years. The Gregorian calendar is very similar to it. 365 days plus one extra day every 4 years, except if the year is not divisible by 100. But if it's divisible by 400, it is a leap year. So the year 1900 was not a leap year. The year 2000 was a leap year. The year 2100 will not be a leap year, and so on and so on. And as you can see from these, they're just mathematical models. They're abstract. They have nothing to do with what's really going on Earth. Nothing to do with the sun, with anything at all. Any questions so far? Lost anybody? Now, our calendar models are based also on the natural world. They map the paths of the sun, moon, Venus, or human gestation. And some of our calendars have been extrapolated to measure longer periods of time, such as the Mayan long count. Yes?
What gestation?
Well, that's the amount of time a baby spends inside the mother's belly. And other calendars have been used to predict solar and lunar eclipses. See people writing down, should I give you a time? It's okay, you can say yes. So we're going to start off with the solar calendar, the Shiwali. Shiwi in Nahuatl means year, and Powa means count. So it's the counting of the year. This one is made up of 18 groups of 20 days each, plus the Montemi days that are added at the end. There's 5 most of the time, sometimes there's 6. If you do the math, it comes out to 365 or 366 days per year. Now, each of these years has a name. Like the year that just ended was named 12 Reed. And this year that we're in now is 13 Flint. And these groups of 18, these 18 groups of 20 days also they've been called the veintenas after the Spanish word veinte, 20. And each veintena is also named. And they tend to be named after the major festival that was being held during that time period. Okay. All right, just checking. Okay, now how does the naming of the years happen? The naming of the years is a combination of numbers from 1 through 13 and 1 of 4 year markers. What I mean by this is there'll be year 1 rabbit. And the year that follows that will be year 2 reed. And after that would be year 3 flint. And after that would be year 4 house, and so on. So the year that would follow would be 5 rabbit, then 6 reed, 7 flint, 8 house, and on and on and on until you have a combination of total combination of 52 different year names. So you don't get the same numbers repeated for another sequence of 52 years. And another important thing is that the name of the year is also the name of the last day of the year. So the year that just ended is called 12 Reed. So does anybody have any idea what the last day of that year was? What is the name of the last day of the year that just ended? The name of that year is 12 Reed.
What does rabbit, no?
Reed?
12 Reed, yeah. It's
Well, break it down again, break it down.
the last day of the year is the same as the name of the year. So this year, which is 13 Flint, is going to end on a day called 13 Flint.
Got it.
Audience participation, it's always good. Okay, this is what the year markers look like in the Mixteco style codices. They have what's we call the AO symbol. And here's the rabbit, cane, which is a reed, a little flint knife, and the house. But that's in the Mixteco area. In the Borbónico codice, they're drawn differently. They have the dots all the way across, and they actually have a year bearer. These are all 52 years depicted on here. Starting here with 1 rabbit, going over and up, over and down, then skipping over here, over and up, over and down. This year here is what we're currently on. 13 dots and a flint knife. And this is the year that just ended. 12 dots and an akat, or reed. Okay. Here's another depiction of the year. This is a 10 rabbit from the monument of Tochtli that was found in Mexico City a couple years ago. Here's a 8 reed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and a reed. This is from the dedication stone of the Huaytaucali, or the Templo Mayor, as you guys may recognize it better. And here, from the Codex Mendoza, is a list of 51 years, starting with 2 house, going all the way across, and ending with 13 reed. They didn't draw in 1 rabbit. And if we notice here, in the year 2 reed, there's a little symbol here. That is a fire drill. And they're using their hands to drill a fire. This new fire ceremony is celebrated on the year 2 reed. And that's important to keep in mind for later on in the presentation. Now, going back to the veintenas. This is what the veintenas are normally called. Itzcali, Alcualo, Xochimalayan, Tochtli, Huaytosostli, Toscar, Esapolisli, Tecuilhuitotli, Huaytecuilhuit, Micaehuitotli, Huaymicaehuit, Ochpanisli, Teoteco, Tepeilhuit, Quecholi, Anquetzalisli, Atemotzli, and Tithi. These are the names of the major feasts that happened during this time period. And the majority of these feasts occur on the very last day of that group of 20 days. So the ending period of the veintenas is what's important here. So the Iskali would be, that feast would be celebrated on the 20th day of that veintena. So it's time periods that have ended, they get emphasized with the celebration. And now we're going on to the days. You know, this, everybody familiar with the days? No? Not really. The Sipatli starts the first one. Ehekat, Kali, Tzpaling, Koat, Nikisli, Masa, Tochtli, A, Ixcuetli, Osomatli, Nalinali, Akat, Ocelot, Cuautli, Cococuautli, Olin, Tecpac, Kiawi, and Sochi. 20 days. And you'll notice Kali, Tochtli, Akat, and Tecpac, those are the year bearers. And they're separated by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days apart. Another 5, we get Kali. Another 5, we get Tochtli. Another 5, we go back to Akat. So it's all cyclical. It's all made on purpose. Okay, now we're going to go back to doing some more math. Wait, but now what numbers? Basically 1 through 10, and then 11 through 20. The numbers that are used mostly during the calendar are 1 through 13, but I went all the way through 20 just to make sure it's a complete set. If you notice, Se, Ome, Ye, Nawi gets repeated here. Se, Ome, Ye, Nawi. And again here, Se, Ome, Ye, Nawi. And again, Se, Ome, Ye, Nawi. So all it is, it's 1 through 4 plus a modifier. Chikwase, Se, Chicome. It tells you what group of 5 you're in, first, second, third, or fourth. And also, if you see the last one, Se, On Poali. I don't know if I went too fast, but the Shu Poali, Poali is a count, and Se would be 1. So this is 1 count, 1 full count of 20 days. It's kind of like having an egg carton. If you have a full egg carton, how many eggs do you have? 12, a dozen eggs. Same thing, you have 1 count, you have 20. And if you had 2 count, which would be Ome Poali, you have 40, and so on and so forth. And that's how you get higher numbers. Okay, now we're going to go over to the Tonantzin, or the day count. This one has 260 days, which is made up of 20 groups of 13 days each, which gives us 260 days. And these 20 groups are also referred to as a trecenas, after the Spanish name from the number 13, because they have 13 days each, 13-day time periods. Now, the days of the year are named according to this count, 260 days. Now, this count's also been used for various prognostications, and so sometimes it's been called the sacred calendar. You write it down? Okay. Okay, so here's where you can find the calendar in the primary sources. The Shupawali is in these. The Tonantzin actually appears 2 different versions of it. There's the 260 days straight through, and there's also broken up into groups of 13 days, and they can be found in these. And now we're going to go into examples of first the Shupawali, then the 260 days, then the Trecenas. This is from the Codex Borbónico. This is the Veintena of Pan Quetzalistli, which means the lifting of banners. Pan Quetzalistli, that's basically what gives the name to the Veintena. And here you see Huitzilopochtli, which was the major deity that was celebrated during that time period. And here, if you remember, is the fire stick, where they're making fire on top of the hill. And this is occurring during the year Tu Reed, which is the new fire ceremony, which is what is depicted here. So this was one of the major feasts where the new fire ceremony was to happen. Yes?
I never really understood the word codex.
Codex is just a word in the English language that means old book. Yeah, because there's codex of Greek books, there's codex of Latin books, these just happen to be codices of our books.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, see, you see all these names? None of them are Mexican. They're all European. That's because the name refers to what library they're at, where they were found. And basically, our treasures have been stolen and taken abroad. And, yeah, it's a sad thing. The only codex that actually remains in Mexico is the Codex Boban, which is also known as the Tira de Peregrinación, which tells the story of the Mexica actually leaving Aztlan and settling in Tenochtitlan. Another depiction of this same veintena is here, from the Codex Linearensis. This one was done on European paper after the invasion, where they tried to describe what was happening during this veintena. You can see him holding the flag. They describe him as Paquetzalisli, Tezcatlipoca. Otra vez la fiesta de Tezcatlipoca porque se hacen 3 veces al año. But this guy is not Tezcatlipoca. He has a hummingbird headdress, which is stereotypical for Huitzilopochtli, which you've seen in the previous one. It's right here, Huitzilopochtli, and the flag, which is Huitzilopochtli and the flag. And then and the next source is also Paquetzalisli, and here al demonio que ellos llaman Huitzilopochtli. So here they name it correctly, and here's the flag instead. And this is again from a post-invasion source. Okay, now we're going to go on to the 260-day counts. This is a quarter of the 260 days. This is only 52. If I was to show all 260 days, it would expand from here all the way over there. So 4 of those images transposed. This is from the Codex Borgia. This next image is the same thing, but from the Codex Vaticanus B, because it's right now residing in the Vatican Library. Here, see rabbit going all the way through to flower. And here, rabbit going through to flower. And you notice the direction is different, but the information is the same. And the style is also different, because the different artists that reside in the different areas. And here's another one, the Codex Hospi. Here you go, rabbit, all the way through to flower. And again, the style of the symbols is different, but all the information is in there. This one even includes extra information. There's a second figure in each of these squares. Those are called the Night Lords. There's a series of 9 of them. It starts with this one, and then it starts repeating here. Now, again, if I was going to show all 260 days, it would be all the way almost to that wall. But we had a way of showing all 260 days on one piece of paper. Here's it. The one I was showing was rabbit, to flower, and then here's another trecena. That we just went to 1, 2, 3, 4 trecenas. There's 20 groups of 13 depicted here. So that's all 260 days of that count. And if you notice, the ones that are in the corners are the year bearers: rabbit, reed, flint, and house. Okay. And now we're going to move on to the tercenas, where we're just going to concentrate on one of these groups. Here it is, the rabbit going across and jumping up to here and going up to the flower. You see 1 rabbit, 2 water, 3 dog, 4 monkey, 5 grass, 6 reed, 7 jaguar, 8 eagle, 9 vulture, 10 movement, 11 tekpat, 11 flint, 12 rain, 13 flower. And again, they're accompanied by the Night Lords. Plus, there's a second series which describes each day. These are the Day Lords. And on top of that, there's birds that are associated with each of the 13 numbers. So it has even more information than the previous ones. And on top of that, there's this whole square panel with a bunch of information. This guy here is Xuteotli, or the devil of fire. You can see he's got the 2 sticks, 2 reeds coming out of his headdress that are used to make fire. Another identification mark is the square, I guess, decoration on his chest, and the bottom half of his mouth is black. Sometimes he's also drawn with a black line across his eyes or a dot. This guy here is a Chipetotec. He a lot of times has a flint knife and his rattlestick. And very typical, you'll see a skin that he's wearing where the hands are dangling. If we go back to the previous slide, this guy in the middle is Chipetotec. He has the black bottom face and the eye covered with paint. If we go to another depiction of this in the Codex Borgia, has less information, but these two guys are still there. Chipetotec and Xiuhteotli. And then this is from Galliano Remensis. This is from post-invasion. The Chipetotec, Xiuhteotli, and where they go one rabbit all the way over and down to 13 flower. And again, them trying to describe what was going on here. Yeah, you can see several corrections. They didn't get it right the first time. And then here's another version from the Vatican's bed. Rabbit all the way up and over and across the flower. You guys have probably noticed that the directions change almost on each one. So there's no set way of, like, we read from left to right. Here you have to know the order in order to know what follows. And the order stays pretty much the same, starting with Zipatli going all the way up, over and through to Sochi. So knowing that, you could pretty much follow what's going on. Now, I'm going to the beginning of the Shubuali, the solar count. This is a 365, 366 day calendar. It had its beginnings with agriculture. And why is the calendar tied with agriculture? Because we needed to know when to plant, when to harvest. We needed to know when the days are longer so we can go out in the fields, or when the nights are longer so we don't go out in the fields at night. So we would plant accordingly. It was important for us to know when the rainy season was, or when the dry season was. In Nahuatl, there was only two seasons, Chopin and Tonarco, which one is the wet season, and the other one is the dry season. There wasn't a spring where it starts to get wet, or it starts to get dry. It's just dry and wet.
What were the names again?
Chopin and Tonarco. Astronomical observances were also linked to these events. We saw that phenomena happen in nature. It would rain around this period of time, and we looked around and saw what else was happening. So we noticed that when the sun would rise to the south, the days would start getting longer. And when the sun would rise to the north, the days would shorten. Now you're probably asking yourself, what the hell does he mean by that? Well, I'll tell you. This is sunrise at the winter solstice in Tolar. The sun rises at this point, the winter solstice, December 21st last year. And now if we go 3 months later, the sun's going to rise here at the spring equinox. So the point where it rose is moving. And if we go to 3 months after that, it moves again. Right now we're looking east, just the way you guys are sitting, facing east. That's to the north and that's to the south. So it started off in the south and moved across the sky to the north. It reaches its northernmost point, and 3 months later, it starts walking back until a whole year has elapsed and it goes back to where it was at. So the solstice, the winter solstice, the summer solstice, and the equinox is in the middle. Then right now it's winter solstice just happened about a month and a half ago, and the days are shorter. So it's easy observation. Yes?
Do you know when the point is when between the seasons, the dry season and the rainy season?
The winter solstice and summer solstice.
So does it become rainy like
In the Valley of
after
Mexico,
the
yes.
summer or after the winter solstice?
In the Valley of Mexico, yes. Actually, the rainy season is in summer.
The monsoonal.
Yes.
Right. So then it's dry between, like in the fall.
Yeah, like right now would be the dry season. And, okay, just going over what I just went over. All calendars are models of the world. The Shupawali ends on the day with the same name. So the year 12 read ended on the day 12 read. The Tonantzin, the 260-day count, that one is the calendar system that's being used to give names to the days. We also know that seasons are linked to these solstices. And now we're gonna go into, yes,
The calendars all over the world, you said, like the Gregorian calendar is a mathematical model, is that
Yes.
right? And Nawa calendar is,
also a mathematical model.
uh,
But yeah, we're perfect question for what we're gonna go into next. How can we tie our mathematical model with what's going on in the universe, what's going on with the world? Right now, I showed the winter solstice. That's gonna be the key point. So there's more information that we need to be able to do what you're just asking right now. We know from general reading that Huitzilopochtli is a representation of the sun. There's the birth story of Huitzilopochtli, where he comes out and destroys his 400 brothers and sisters, basically the stars. So he's the sun. I've shown you that Panquetzalistli was the biggest feast of the year for the Mexica. It's they celebrate the new fire ceremony there, and it's the grandest feast that they have throughout the whole year. And Huitzilopochtli was the major deity of the Mexica. They carried a little idol of it from Aztlan out to Tenochtitlan. So, and in the Florentine Codex, Sagun says that there's a Chonchayocaluya. It's a celebration called La Batalla Fingida de Chonchayo, or the fake battle, or the mock battle of Chonchayo. It's when the recent graduates of the warrior schools go to battle with their teachers. They basically mock fight, kind of like a king of the hill that they're trying to play with each other, try and capture each other and take them back to either Tochtli or to their temple. And so it's Chonchayo is also a representation of Huitzilopochtli. And this one happens on the third day of Atemostli. Atemostli is the veintena that follows Panquetzalistli. So they're doing something related to Huitzilopochtli 3 days after Panquetzalistli, and all those 20 days of Panquetzalistli had to do with Huitzilopochtli. So the events for Huitzilopochtli are extended 3 days past the end of Panquetzalistli. So in other words, they sort of extend Panquetzalistli to be 23 days. And here's from another source. History of Mexicans is told by their paintings. I'm gonna read it. They reckon the days of their feast, and so the feast of bread, which was the day of the nativity of Huitzilopochtli from the plume, which was the day the sun was in declination, and so as with the other festivals. This was translated in 1883 from the Spanish sources. And the English is very broken, although it's semi-modern English. So I went and I found the source in Spanish. Historia de los Mexicanos por sus pinturas. Found in Teogonia, Historia de los Mexicanos. Here, found it. And in Spanish means, contaban los días para sus fiestas y así, la fiesta del pan, que era cuando nació Huitzilopochtli, y la de la pluma, la que era cuando el sol estaba en su declinación, y así las otras fiestas. Now, one of the major errors that they have in the translation is pan and bread. Panquetzalistli is la fiesta del pan that they describe here, which has been translated from the Spanish to the English, the feast of the bread. The Spanish, when they wrote down a lot of their transcribing, they used shorthand like nobody's business. Instead of writing out Q-U-E for que, they just wrote the Q. They would drop a lot of E's, a lot of N's, and just put a little tacha, a little mark to say the word continues. So this follows that pattern also. Instead of Panquetzalistli, it's pan. So here it tells us when Huitzilopochtli, or the sun, was born. It's the day of nativity. of Huitzilopochtli. It also tells us that it happened when the sun was in declination, or that means the sun's path was low. A shorter path for the sun means there's less daylight, or that means there's less sunlight. So again, we're talking about winter solstice. So we can now tie together the calendar with the actual phenomena that happens. We use the model to see what's happening in the real world. So we can make the conclusion that the sun comes from its place of birth 3 days after Panquetzalisli, or Panquetzalisli ends 3 days before the winter solstice. And we can now fix, using this information, we can now fix the calendar model to the natural world. So that means that every so often a correction had to be made because the Earth's path is not a perfect mathematical model. So we had to calibrate the calendar. When was this done? According to Sagun, it was done every 4th year. There was a 6th day added. But this is obviously an error because it would lead us in a Julian-style calendar, like the one that they originally were using. After about a couple hundred years, it would be off again. So not everything that Sagun says can be taken for fact. In the Codex Maglaviciano, there is a series of paper offerings that represents the Nemonteni. The Nemonteni, once again, are the days that are added at the end of the calendar. And the 5th is larger than the rest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's larger. This one grew more. And there's another source. The Codex Telleriano Remensis also has the 5 Nemonteni days, but there's an extra day added. See, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you notice, these have white on the outside and red on the inside. This one is red on the outside, white on the inside. And this day has red on the outside, white on the inside. It's a copy of this day. So there are 5 days and a copy. Or in other words, 4 regular days and an extra big day. We can say that this lasted a time period of 24 hours. This one lasted a time period of 48 hours. And this works out with the mathematical model of the calendar because the 6th day was called the same as the 5th day. And that has to be in order for all of the correlations to happen. And here's evidence from the codices that that's what we used to do. I saw people trying to want to raise their hand. No? Okay. So, in conclusion, I've taken you through a path where we've been able to recreate the Tonantzin and the Xiuhpoali without the crutch of the Gregorian and the Julian calendar. There's many people out there that say that they can translate the calendar, but what they're actually doing is taking the Gregorian calendar and translating it into our system, which they start off with what they call it, crap in, crap out. So they start off with something that's not good and end up with something that's not bad. I mean, that's not good.
Good either.
Yeah, thank you. So we use the winter solstice as an anchor point, and we are able to bring our ancient calendars back to life and make them relevant to the present day without the use of any foreign calendar system whatsoever. And it's all from the sources, and I have all the sources here. You guys are more than welcome to come and look through them. Yeah. So all this, what does it mean? It means that today's date is the year Tochtli 13 Flint. And in the solar count, we're in the 3rd day of the Veintena Itzcali, or Ei Itzcali. And the name of the day of today is Chicome 7 reptilian. And a lot of people say crocodile, but it's not really a crocodile, it's a mythological creature. And in picture form, this is what the year looks like with the year bearers from Codex Borbónico. Remember, I had all 52 years on there. I just blew it up real big. And then this is the Veintena Itzcali, the 3 Itzcali. It's also from the Borbónico. And this is the day is 7 Cipatli. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the symbol Cipatli. Yesterday was 6 flower. Then the day before that was 5 rain. The day before that was 4 flint, and so on. If you notice, this tercena is different from the one I showed earlier. And there's 20 groups of tercenas, and they all have their different, I guess, it's been called augury information or extra information that talks about these. Any questions so far? No? Okay, well, and here are my sources, I guess. And, ta-da.
What would you name the so-called Aztec calendar? Because that's really a calendar, right? It's more.
No, it's, I guess, I don't know, like
The
the
universe?
sunstone would be Tonantzin, or
Which means?
sunstone. Now what? Yes.
Can you go back to that slide that showed today's date, the whole thing?
The what?
So that slide that showed today's date,
Oh,
the whole,
sure.
the whole thing on the, they had the whole thing on it. Yeah, copy that.
Yes.
How easy is it to access these records? You mentioned that some of them have the name of the Vatican. So as a historian, would somebody be able to get a
See
hold of?
physical documents?
Yeah,
No.
no.
But there are facsimiles that are available on the web through there's a website called FAMSI, Foundation for the Advancement of Studies of Mesoamerica, Inc., I think it's FAMSI, it's in Spanish, doesn't, but yeah, that's where all these images that I got with codices came from. That's where all of these images of codices that I have here, that I printed out from their website. So the information is available, it's just,
But you can't actually get a hold of the primary sources. You
These-
just get a replica of them.
these are copies of pictures taken of the primary sources, yes. Plus, they're not gonna allow anybody off the street to touch what they consider,
What about if you work for the National Geographic Society?
you can try it. The way that the calendar, which the codex that I mentioned, that is in Mexico today, the Codex Poman, no, Portunari, is because it actually, one of our intellectuals went over to where it was at in London and put it in his coat pocket and what?
Nice.
Yeah. Anything else? Any questions? Yes.
Is there honestly, it would be cool to make calendars that have the names written, both in text and then also the ideogram form,
Yes.
and then sell them as a fundraiser or something. Because where can you get these calendars? I never see them. I go to buy calendars, I will buy one.
I actually put together
Oh, wow.
the maintenance for this year coming up. And it's difficult to use as a calendar on a daily basis because it's broken up in the 20 groups of 20 days. So it's not like February, that'll turn to February. So then I had to go and do something else.
I mean, the flyer for this event, I mean, so people don't get confused, you know, like have the Gregorian date, but why not have the Mexica date too?
That's something we can work for next year.
So also,
A ver.
yeah. And this is basically, you can see the format of the Gregorian calendar, but our days on there, which is, I guess, more user-friendly because we're used to seeing this format.
Yeah.
At first, I only made these. I've been making for a couple of years, and everybody who I've been giving them to, they're like, it's hard to use. I'm like,